Hello, everybody. This is Tom Keppler, manager of the Office of Information and Public Communication, and I have some big news. This is our 100th podcast. Brunswick Podcasts are powered by BAT. That's right, the same BAT channel that brings local government and public access to Brunswick and Brunswick Hills Township. On the show today is Ben Staunton and Chris Golian, specialists in the craft of access television and local content creation. Join us as we talk about our podcast journey so far. Let's start off with Chris, because honestly, he's been part of most of these. How are you today, Chris?
Well, Tom, as I've said many times in this position, anytime I'm behind the mic with the podcast record, red light on, I'm always in a good mood. So in a great mood, glad to be here.
Yeah, so this proves you've been in a good mood for that reason for about 100,
roughly, yeah. all 100 episodes that I don't know if I haven't been involved in every single one, but in some way, shape, or form involved in the majority of those 100 episodes.
Sure. Let's get to Ben. How are you today, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. And Chris, technically you have been involved in all 100 episodes, because if it wasn't for you to come up with this idea, pitch it to Tom, and then Tom to get the equipment, we wouldn't have this. And of course, I know that there's some others involved in it. I won't steal your thunder there, but I'll let you talk about that. But I'm doing well, and thank you guys for this opportunity to be able to do these podcasts.
I think Ben steered that direction just right where I want that conversation to go. So why don't you recall, Chris, how we got started podcasting?
So I did make a cheat sheet for myself, to let people, and I usually have quite a few notes. Not all of them are always useful, but to be quite honest, it all started with a conversation between you and myself before a planning commission meeting. During the pandemic, when all city offices' doors were closed to the public, we broadcasted all the meetings, not just city council meetings. And so getting ready before a planning commission meeting, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and you kind of posed the question to me, if you could do anything, no bounds, what would you do here? And I had a little bit of radio experience prior to coming to work here, and so I thought, all right, well, I don't know if we could put up a whole tower, so starting a radio station here wouldn't exactly be plausible, but podcasting is very popular. There's a lot of people looking to get involved with it, and it's not all that different than the services we were already offering to the public, just in a little bit different medium. So that was my suggestion, and that's kind of where this whole thing got started from, was that initial conversation before a planning commission meeting. So I guess shout out to them as well.
Yeah, that almost seems like we had a planning,
We had our own planning meeting.
Yeah. Ben, when you heard that suggestion, when we were discussing it later, what did you think initially? Did you think it was maybe uncharted waters we should be careful around, or do you think, man, this is in line with what we do?
I think that, radio started out before television, and we all know that. And so it was, hey, we can do audio, but we can do moving pictures. So when people say, podcasting is totally, I would say that it's totally intermingled with radio, and radio is totally intermingled with television. So I think if you would have said, something extremely out of the ordinary, like, we're getting an airplane and we're going to start parachuting, then I would say, okay, maybe not. But, podcasting, I think, is a natural progression, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think that if we think about the training aspect of it, I got started, and this might apply to you guys as well. I started doing audio editing and learned some of that engineering, and then I don't want to say you can master it, but as I became proficient with that is when I decided, let's get into video. I added the cameras and stuff. So for anyone in town who wants to start creating content but might seem overwhelmed, that's almost a nice building block for us too. So there's multifaceted accounts for what we do. Sometimes we're just government related. We pump out the government information. Sometimes I like to think about the public access and how we can help serve the community, create their own content. So I think this falls in line perfectly with both. One thing I've been kind of harping lately is saying everybody gets their information a different way. If we put something on the signboard, not everybody will see it. If we put something on a podcast, not everybody will hear it. But if we cover all bases, there's a good chance that the city of Brunswick will hear what we have to say, and that goes for the public as well. So that's just kind of a little bit of the foundation work. I should say that our initial piece of equipment was bought with a donation from the Rotary Club. So shout out to those guys. Those guys
I have that written down as well, because without that we would have never started trying a few different things and generating some of the ideas that we've moved forward on that have become a part of our show lineup, really.
Yeah, and it's important to say that as well, because we're in a brand new set right now. We continue to improve. We continue to build on everything. And the original piece of equipment we still have as a portable piece for the public to rent out. Or let's say we have to go to City Hall and record little sound bites or something. That's still a valuable piece of equipment that can be used. I'm going to kind of change the subject a little bit and just say, what has been your favorite moment or your favorite show so far? Like, we have multiple series, so what's your favorite part of this?
It would be difficult, I guess, for me to just say one. I enjoy What's Going On, a show that I host with Carl. Is a multimedia show, so it's uploaded as its own video podcast and an audio podcast, which is something that we hadn't done before. So I was especially proud of that. And
let's get into the meat and bones of it too. Like, actually explain that show. Multimedia's, that's the format they're getting. What is the show?
So the show, I like to describe it as essentially the morning announcements. Everybody remembers the morning announcements from school or what have you, but for the city of Brunswick. And so it's different events going on in town. If there's, road closings, different constructions, different events, we try to shout out community organizations and individuals that are doing great things or have done great things, or, maybe even achieved some sort of award. There's no one category we try to encompass, anything involving community, individuals or organizations. Trying to put out general information of different things that the city has going on, whether it's with the rec center, whether it's with City Hall, the police or fire department. Generally, one of those departments, if not multiple, in most cases it's multiple, has something going on all the time. The other thing that we try to do on that show, whether it's me or Carl, is also just help direct citizens to pieces of information. Our favorite website, as we always say, is brunswick.oh.us, and there's a lot of stuff on there to find, whether it's permit applications, whether it's utilities, whether it's I need a permit for a block party, or any types of things like that. And sometimes that information isn't apparent to people, or people are new in town, they're not sure where to look for it, and so we kind of use it as as you referenced there, as an extra reminder that, hey, this is where this information is. If you have a question about putting something out for for your garbage collection, this is where you go to find that number. Or, hey, you're trying to look for cable providers in town, who's here, who should you call? This is the place to find that information. And, even just little things like that.
That's a perfect example, because we have over 300 pages on the website sometimes, and finding some of those niche topics, it's important that we have all the information out there, but that's just another example of, some people might read through the entire website. Some people might need to be guided there. So the community shout outs, for example, how do you choose those? Those sometimes come through community announcements, sometimes comes from news around town, sometimes it comes from people who walk in the door and say hi. It's like, all right, we'll help promote you guys a little bit. Is that
right? All those things. If you send us an email or a message, whether it's at the city manager's office with Carl, he's brought some in. Obviously we handle the community announcements, so we'll look through those as well. And and word around town. There was, I don't remember the name of it now, but there was a group of Brunswick High School students that were trying to raise money for leukemia research. And they were trying to get the word out anywhere they could, and to help generate more fundraising dollars. They had a ton of different things going for them. They were working with some local businesses. They were working with restaurants. They had their own just plain old donation campaigns. And so, both me and Carl were both very impressed by their commitment, and they're leaving no stone unturned. They looked absolutely every place and where they could promote, and so we're like, hey, this is exactly what we have this for. Let's see if we can help them out. And they not only reached their goal, but they exceeded it. So that's one in particular. But we'll see photos on Facebook or reactions or just seeing people in town of, oh yeah, I was at that event, or oh yeah, I swung by the, whatever the police department had a tent outside of City Hall, and something that they were doing. And so, it's really great to, have so many different avenues and to get all that word out.
Perfect. So I will say this, because you're used to hosting shows, and Ben, you as well. If you guys have questions for me, I'm not trying to run this show. We're just trying to keep things moving. So, and Ben, if you have anything to add about any of that, I know your favorite episode was episode 3 overall.
It was episode 3.
Why is that?
Yes. Well, you see, that was the first episode that I participated in. That's the Who Are You and What Do You Do, episode 3. That's the one showcasing myself. Now, in tongue-in-cheek, I said it's my favorite to you guys, but I didn't explain exactly why. The reason that it's actually my favorite is not just because I'm on it, and Chris is there too, of course. And so it's mainly because, I hadn't really done radio since college. I mean, at Akron U, I worked at the college radio station for a couple of years, and I enjoyed it. And when you guys talked about getting the podcast equipment, it was like, okay, all right, okay, we can do something else, something new. I mean, it's pretty much, in our wheelhouse, so it's okay. But then when I sat down behind the microphone and actually got to, touch my toe into the radio waters again, as I like to say, I was like, wow, this is fun. This is new, because it's something that I already have some time in, and that I remember fondly. So when I say it's my favorite, it's not just because I'm on it. It's because it actually made me feel warm and fuzzy about the podcasting part of it again. So when we started doing more of them and started working on it, I didn't know when I would do another one or what my role was in it, but I knew that I wanted to do some kind of podcast or something that we were working on here. And I think that a lot of the people who come in here get that same feeling. They believe that at first, well, I don't know what I would ever use this for. Why would I ever do that? How is it different than television? But then when they sit down and actually do it, I believe that they're like, wow, okay, that was actually fun. I got to do something that, I didn't know that I would be doing. And I think that's the best part of it. So that's why number 3 of Who Are You and What Do You Do? If you haven't heard it at home, listen to it. You listen to it in your car, listen to it in the shower, listen to it 17 times a day. Get my numbers up. But no,
Pump those numbers.
Yeah, that's my favorite one, just because it really did make me feel that desire and excitement about doing a podcast.
Wow. I didn't expect all that. Not that I wrote it off, but I just thought that was a joke. So that's a legitimately great answer.
See, that's why I waited to tell you during this, so I could get your true reactions to what I was saying. So,
well, now my favorite episode is 103, because I heard the story behind it, and then I can go back and listen to it again. So
there you go.
relive the magic. What other shows have we done, Chris? So far, we've covered Who Are You and What Do You Do, which is where we bring in city employees and introduce them in their jobs, which is episode 3, as Ben just mentioned. We mentioned What's Going On. What else do we have?
So I have that written down as well, and I'll talk more on Who Are You and What Do You Do. That's another show that I host that I really enjoy. But in addition to that, we've also done A Cup and a Conversation with Grant Ongst. He's the Community and Economic Development Director here for the city of Brunswick, and he just brought in industry professionals from all sorts of walks of life. Talked to them a little bit about leadership styles, some of their background, and just had a genuine conversation about some, it kind of went off in different parts depending on who was in there in the interview chair. We also have a specialty series which has covered things from NOPEC, which is utilities which is power.
Yeah. Utility aggregate. You're right.
But because there were some changes there. And that one kind of has a fun story because it was something that was happening rapidly, and other people within the city administration wanted to get something out there. And so maybe you were involved, maybe you weren't necessarily, but I think it was almost their suggestion, well, we could do a podcast, which that's the fun story to me because it wasn't one of us pitching a podcast. It was another department saying, hey, let's do this as a podcast. That would make the most sense. But we've done them about the Brunswick Income Tax podcast, which is all about filing income taxes and sort of how you get prepared for that and what do you need. We've done ones on charity, on leaf collection, all types of different episodes covering all sorts of things. There was one for the rec center, and they were promoting some sort of an event. I don't recall which one now. I don't know if it was a dance or if it was something else going on up there. But so we've had a little bit of everybody come in for some of those specialty ones, which is fun.
Yeah. So when you say that, that's government only. What would you say to someone for the public who wanted to get their word out or just kind of wanted to get introduced to podcasting in general?
Well, naturally, we try to direct them to the public podcasting page, not only to show them the shows that are on there, which Old Time Radio with the Erie House Radio is one that sticks out. Sports Ball, which is all sports podcast, but the other part of that is that it's also a nice place to direct people to your show, and that's something that if you choose to put your podcast on there and podcast with us, so to speak, that's one of the perks that come along with that is that you have an easy place. If you provide the links, we'll put them in there so that people can find your show, whatever platform that you post it on, because I think there's a pretty mixed bag on there already for the people that have their shows on there. But I would say that's a pretty nice thing. The other part of it is it's tough to know exactly what you need equipment-wise. If
I were trying to do this at home?
If you have a knowledge in audio or in video equipment, it's nice to be able to come in here and see what we have, get training on how it works and how to use it, best for what you need to do. I think we try to do that for any of the trainings that we offer on any of the pieces of equipment. Try to help you for what you're trying to do, not just a canned, okay, this button does this, and all right, see ya, have fun. We try to put people in a much better position than that. So if someone's interviewing people at a conference or at some sort of show where there's a mass congregation, or somebody's even brought up interviewing somebody like in a restaurant, I believe, there's different things to account for and little tips and tricks that you can do to sort of help yourself get the best quality audio or video that you can there. So that's another aspect of things.
Very good. And my joke, I interned here years ago, and my joke was always that these guys, Jeff, my predecessor, and Ted and Ben, taught me more than they did at school. They're just here doing their job, getting to know me, helping me out with some intern hours. They didn't have to do all that. And that's exactly what we do for our public producers as well. So what if we turn this back to government? We mentioned what's going on. You mentioned Carl DeForest as your fellow host. Is that
yes. Don't want him to be excluded.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to give him a call because that's the only way we can guarantee 101st podcast. Exactly. We need, not that we're not worried about the 100th podcast, but to get 101 is important as well. So why don't we talk about this call-in feature? This connects via Bluetooth, and we can call. So your guest doesn't even have to be here. You guys hear okay?
Yeah, that's two ringy dingies there.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day. You are live and on the air with our 100th podcast.
Live and in person, celebrating the century mark.
That's right.
Congratulations, guys.
Well, thank you.
Carl.
We were just kind of reminiscing. We covered what's going on and the style of the show. I just wanted to hear kind of your overall impression of Brunswick Podcasts so far.
Well, I think it's a great addition. I'm not the most techie guy. Everybody who knows me knows that, but everybody receives their information in different ways. Some people like, the paper newspaper. Some people like the digital stuff. Some people like television. Some people like radio. Some people love podcasts. So we're filling a niche that we didn't before. And, I give credit to you guys for being open-minded and creative and finding something that we hadn't done. And not only doing it, but doing it well, and it's continuing to grow. And I run into folks that see the cable shows. I run into people who listen to the podcast, and it's beneficial. I almost said heartwarming, but I don't want to be like a Hallmark movie or anything here. But it's good to hear that folks are tuning in and learning something. And, whether it's on the go or on the fly, or they have a schedule that they keep as their own, where they learn a little bit more about the city. So I think it's been fantastic, and I've gotten to know you guys a little bit better throughout the process, which has its downsides, I guess. But overall, no, it's been very, very good. I had to throw Barb in there,
Yeah. Otherwise, it seemed like we paid you to just say nice things about us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I don't get paid enough for that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and I guess I would respond with, what is your impression, Ben? Asking you the same question.
Me personally, me?
Yeah.
I love it. I'd say anytime we can, I don't know, I guess I can be sentimental. Ben was sentimental on this episode already. I grew up loving creativity. Anytime I could make music, anytime I could draw, anytime I could just ignore the classroom, I guess. No. Anytime I could be creative. And I was yelled at once by a music teacher that I wasn't passionate about music. I'm like, don't tell me what I'm passionate about. I know my passions. You're just a teacher. What do you know? But I think it has evolved, and I guess I give them credit for this back then for recognizing it. My passion purely was creation in the creative realm. So not only am I able to do that as a living, we hit up the public side of it as well. So we are enabling and bringing that out of the public as well. So even if people don't know how, we kind of groom them to understand how to create this art, because that's where I believe my true passion lies, is just in, I'd say it's more entertainment than, some of the serious stuff that we do for government, but anytime people can be creative or work creatively or create art, not only am I doing that myself, but I'm allowing the public to do that as well. So this is just another tool for that toolkit.
Yeah, and I would say that taps into a different level of energy and excitement than just coming to work and stamping the papers and moving them and doing what anybody would normally do on a regular basis at their job. Chris, what about you?
I just, one, it's neat that a suggestion that I made at the time that has gone this far. In previous work that I had done, I was kind of the low man on the totem pole, so to speak. So any ideas and pitches that I had, I think people were nice and would humor me and listen, but there wouldn't be much action taken. And so posed with that question once again, and I gave my thoughts on, I think we should do podcasting, and I have a background in radio, so I enjoy the audio only or just this medium in general. So it's fun to me to still be involved with that, but also just to be able to put in the work to make this happen was really enjoyable for me. That's really the thing. Anytime we fire up the equipment for whether it's for something that we're doing or something that one of our public producers is doing, it's cool because it's cool to me, especially because this is something that this wouldn't have been possible had I made that suggestion and had Tom taken it seriously and also put in the work. So it's not all me. Obviously, all of us have contributed to this in one way or another. But it's just neat to see something grow from a suggestion that you made. And so that's something that I think about anytime that I'm involved with any of our podcast productions.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tom once told me that you have a face for radio, so I'm not the least bit surprised you were in radio and had a passion for that.
Tom and many other people have said that, so I don't know. There's something to that.
You know, but I would say from the city manager perspective, you know, and I've been here quite some time. I've been here for 33, starting my 34th year. Man, that's a long time. And, you know, there's things that go on and things that happen, or people come up with ideas, and you're like, and A, it's a good idea, it's a great idea, but then you wonder, why didn't I think of that? And why haven't we been doing this for 10 years? You know, so I give you credit for having the audacity of coming up with an idea as the low man on the totem pole and pitching something. But then, you know, I always subscribe to the theory, if you want to get involved and get something done, then put some sweat equity into it, you know, put some effort into it and make it happen. And you've done that, and Tom has helped do that, and Ben as well. And so that's why it's successful, is because you know, Tom mentioned passion and desire, and you had the passion and desire, and you came up with an idea. We say, hey, yeah, what the heck? I mean, it's not, you know, we're not going to spend $100,000 on it. You know, we got some equipment and kicked it off, and here we are doing show 100. And that's kind of bee's knees stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
For me,
yeah, is Ben there? Or,
yes,
I am there. I am there.
Well, hello, Ben. How are you?
Fantastic, Carl. And yourself?
Fabulous. Yeah, I'm magnificent. Now, what do you think about the experience and the idea?
Well, I think that if you're out there listening and you don't take advantage, then I think you're missing out. And the reason is because you may not have an eye for video. You may be overwhelmed by electrical equipment like Carl. But the thing is that we all talk. You know, we all communicate. And, you know, you may take a little bit of time to get into the groove of communicating in this medium. Some people aren't very good on the phone. Some people aren't very good at the drive-through. Other people can't even go get their own prescriptions very well without feeling nervousness. But this here is definitely you running the show. You can do it how you want. So I think if you're listening to this, you know, and you know, as you're running the track over at the rec center, and you're like, hey, you know, this is something I thought about, but I really didn't know, you should do it. I mean, what are you losing? It's free. It's offered by us. We have the equipment, thanks to the Rotary and thanks to the hard work of, you know, Tom and Chris to get this all ball rolling, and Carl putting that behind us and helping us get it going. So I think that, you know, the only thing that it's missing, and this is the sad part, is you at home, you in your car, you with the headphones on listening to this right now. You're the person that needs to come. It sounds like a PBS thing. It's like, you know, I'm going to send you a duffel bag next. But no, I mean,
Tune into Idea Stream. For $500, you'll get a small duffel bag and a water bottle.
All that we're missing is you. You know, so I think that's actually, you know, that's actually what it is, you know.
With the exception that's why we're grateful for the volunteer producers.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Include them as well. So.
Yeah, and you know, and again, I've been here a while, and Ben, you've been here a while, and you know, the older you get, they say when you look back on your life, you normally regret the things you didn't do as opposed to the things. I did a lot of stupid stuff. Some things I got away with, some things I got caught at, but I don't regret any of that, you know. But there's people out there who are listening who might think, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, and we encourage them to come down. And to reiterate what Chris said, you know, good ideas, you just never know. And Ben, I give you credit for a couple of years ago, you brought up on a wellness issue that relates to our health care and spouses getting an incentive to, you know, take care of themselves and things of this nature. And I pitched it to the unions, and most of them embraced it. And so you just never know when you're going to hear a good idea as a boss. And if you don't listen, then shame on you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes this a better place than average, in my opinion, a great place to work, is that people are willing to pitch ideas and then follow through, put some time, energy, and effort into them, and then they're beneficial to the community. They're beneficial to our mission and beneficial to the employees. And again, it's just one more thing that makes Brunswick a great place to be, in my opinion.
I agree. How could you not agree with that?
Yeah, if you don't agree, then do your own podcast and talk me out of it being a good idea. Point, counterpoint, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so thank you again for letting me join you guys on the 100th episode. We've reached the century mark, and shouldn't be long before we reach 200.
Yeah, we're on a roll now. We got it going. I knew this was a good idea when I pitched a show to you, and then you decided to be on it with Chris instead of me. So that's all right. If it's good and I had enough idea, Carl wants it, we're on to something.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, you guys have done the majority work, so you come to me with a great idea that you're going to do the majority of the work. Normally, I'll say, yeah, thumbs up, let's do it.
Well, thank you
but then
for supporting it.
I got to help somehow, So again, I think it's been a very fortunate thing for our community. Reflects well on us as a collective whole, and you guys as an organization, and the three individuals pulling the trigger behind the scenes.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, like Ben said, if you didn't hear that, thank you for your support through all the endeavor.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for the great ideas.
Thanks to city managers like you, this is all possible. There's my last PBS pitch. There you go.
All we need is you, a little swing public, to get involved in your own podcast. Yeah. That's my radio voice.
Very nice.
I loved it. You're the new announcer.
Okay.
Yes. Well, thanks for including me, gents.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.
Goodbye.
See you, Carl.
See ya. Bye.
So before we move on, you're on the hot seat now because you said we're supposed to ask you questions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's your favorite podcast so far that's come out of this that we've done?
I'll tell you what. So we've had trouble. I don't want to say trouble. I guess this is going to be a very long answer. I'm sorry. This is why communications is kind of my thing.
It's okay. These seats are comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. This is a new set, so yeah, enjoy it. Who are you and what do you do is kind of the prime example of government transparency. It's the people in charge and what they do, and you hear from them exactly, so it humanizes them. It's not just a fire truck going down the road. We hear from Chief Glauner himself. With so much change, you got to think, I've been manager here 5 or 6 years, and I'm kind of the old guard. And this is a great place to work, so it's not that people are leaving and finding other work. People are retiring out. With so many new city administrators, they're kind of getting used to the way of reporting stuff for us to put on the website or put on the signboard. So I don't want to say it's trouble or it's been a challenge, but just reaching every single department is a full-time job in its own. So my favorite part is just being able to invite all the departments over to see what we do, to kind of refresh their memory, to welcome in the new administration and work hand in hand and see what's possible. And Paul Magavac, for example, he worked with the township, and we service the township as well. He's the new service director for the city of Brunswick. And he's just been feeding us information. Man, this is kind of nice having a communications department. I can just put this on Facebook, put this over here, put that over there. And I'm like, why don't we just put it everywhere? Because similar to what we've been saying, let's get it out there. So kind of rekindling that fire of synergy between the departments, I think is great, especially as a communications department for the city. So having said that, and then pitching these ideas of doing PSAs, and how many PSAs can you watch that are just talking heads? Hi, I'm Tom. Don't litter. Thanks. Be safe. Great messages, oftentimes great people, but they get kind of cut and dry. They're kind of not the most entertaining, not the most eye-catching thing. By doing this in different forms, we've kind of been bringing people into our existing shows and our existing podcasts and been able to extract sub-clips, and that becomes its own PSA. So it's not, hey, I'll use Chief Glauner again as an example. Chief, come over and tell us about the smoke detector project through the American Red Cross. He'll overthink it. He might write down a script, and it'll come off very good, very professional, but very matter of fact. If we're sitting here having a podcast, it's just a conversation. That's when people are like, "Oh, I didn't know they did that. Listen to him." And he might think of something off the whim, like, "Oh, okay, so anybody can do this. They'll come in and install it. Maybe I'll call for my grandmother who lives down the road." So knowing that there's the impact and the synergy, and we're rekindling the fire, that's kind of all wrapped up in my favorite part of the podcasting. So it's, once again, the same thing we've been doing all along, but it's just kind of that kick in the butt to get going. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and I think that's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
And then, like I said, there's variety in our work. So some days there's the days where I just do, editing, and it's creative, and then I'm in the zone. Actually, ignore all of that. You know what my favorite part is? No.
Oh boy.
Actually,
Here we go.
Maybe I'll pin this as a question to kind of, I'll be bloviated. My ego will get big. Chris, tell us about some of the intro music for your shows. No.
the majority, any of the it's all original, and most of it is by you.
Yeah. So I don't waste company time on this because I was setting up my own recording studio at home. And the "Who Are You and What Do You Do," for example, that is an homage. That's the theme. That is the Brunswick theme song. So I hope if you're listening, Bud Preston, I still know your name. I still know the song. We're still going to use it whenever we get council credits going again. It's online if you want to hear it. But that little sounder at the beginning, that's an homage to the Brunswick, the official theme, council adopted. So that's probably been my favorite part, because growing up, people are like, Tommy, he's going to grow up and do his own movies, do his own voices, do his own music, do his own scripts, do his own that. So that's kind of an example of, whether you knew it or not, you've been hearing my music this whole time. No.
Yeah.
So that's my selfish answer. Though you got my professional answer, then you got my selfish answer. So
There you go.
I guess I didn't have a follow-up question. I just talked for a half hour. How do you guys want to wrap up the show?
Well, I did want to say this. There was an idea that came from you and Chris
Oh, yeah, we have another show. Tell us about another show. Go on. Yeah, sorry.
a little while ago. And Chris did one, and then we got busy. I'm talking not a little bit busy, but we have been really busy around here. And I know that, you can say that, a lot of the stuff we do is creative and everything, but it is still busy. You have a lot of things to do. And so one of those television programs came out is Meet the Producers. And that was with Chris and Dwayne Risco, who does public programming here on the channel. And he did a very good job with it. And then, unfortunately, due to all the busyness, it got kind of backburnered. And so we've been talking about getting it going and doing some more with it. And so, I guess I kind of stole it a little bit. And I said to Tom, hey, do you want to do this to kind of together as a team, kind of like, like morning show kind of style a little bit? And he was like, yeah, sure. So we kind of just threw this together.
I was more excited about it than that.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, if I have to.
You didn't steal it. You just moved. You took the baton. Like
Okay.
the relay race. You took the. I only could get so far with it, and so you finished the race for us.
But I think every episode so far, I have given you credit for it. I have not. I have not said one time that it was my original idea or anything. It's honestly was something that I think it's important to let the people know that we appreciate them. I mean, they're volunteers. It's like they're not getting paid to do this. We're not paying them money to do this. This is for something that is benefiting us. Because if it wasn't for them, there'd be no reason for us. We need them to come in and do television programming because we put it on a channel. That's what we schedule. Same with the government shows that we do here and the meetings and everything else, which Chris does the city council and trustee meetings, which is a lot of work. I mean, people might think it's not, but it is honestly a lot of work. And if it wasn't for all of that content that we have, there'd be no reason to have the channels. I mean, there'd be no reason to have the Facebook page that we have. So go there, by the way, and like our Facebook page. And also, there would be no reason to have our on-demand site and YouTube channel and all of these other things that we have that we want you to go visit and like, and show your love for our producers, not for us. I mean, that's not for us. That's for our producers. Those are for our people who do the things. And we love Brunswick and Brunswick Hills. This is our community. We're your channel. So for us, I think that, having them on the Meet the Producers show and getting the spotlight on them and showing, hey, look, these people are doing really good work. And these shows are local. This is local television. This is what you should be watching because they're giving you information about something that you know about and you'll learn more about. Like you said, there's all kinds of different ways to get your information. And we want to be one of those ways. We want you to sit down and watch the shows or say, oh, this is going to be on at night and this is going to be on at this time. And if you can't watch it then go to bat.vibit.com and check it out. You can also stream the channels there, government and public. So I think that those are great. But the thing is the Meet the Producers show, which is what it all started as, I was going to say, is something that we're doing that I think is well deserved for the people who do the shows here. And if you would like to become a producer here at Brunswick Area Television so that you can be on that show, we welcome it. So yeah, contact us, 330-220-1726. And we will get you producing shows so that you can be on that show and have to put up with Tom and I.
I like that twist. You should come in and learn all this, or come in and do a show just so you can meet us.
Yeah, so you can be on Meet the Producers so that people can learn about you. Why not?
The other cool part about that show is, and you see it in the movie industry quite a bit, is origin stories. And so if you're somebody who's thinking about it or has ideas that wouldn't that be a cool show if somebody would make that, well, you can make it. And quite a few of our public producers don't exactly have a formal background in any of these things. They're just passionate about something and wanted to, like we talked about with Carl, is put some legs behind it and see where this idea or this thought or this service could go. And so they pick things up along the way and are still doing their shows today or are starting different shows because they've found something else that they're passionate about. And so you get to kind of hear that background and figure out that, hey, you don't necessarily need to have years and years of experience in audio and video production to start doing your own stuff. And, you can improve as you go and, refine things as well. You're in charge, so it's not as though anyone's, oh, no, you got to cut that segment to only 2 minutes, 5 minutes, way too long to spend on that. No, you're 100% in charge of your own stuff and, to use your own ideas.
We do have more flexibility here than most other places if you go. And that's the affordability factor. You go somewhere where they'll charge you a couple $100 to create a podcast. Then you decide to change your mind on something, good luck. You're going to pay for that change too. Here, guess what? You're the boss. It's up to you. That's actually an interesting point. And let's talk about distribution too while we're at it. So people come in and create a podcast, they can upload it wherever they want. I think sometimes oh, it's going on the channel, it's going on your public podcast page. I want it to be over here. If you create it, you still own it. You can do whatever you want with it. Facebook, YouTube. You can put it anywhere. I guess sky's the limit. I won't even list the places.
Yeah, because there are so many of them. And that's something that, if you have questions about, we have some experience with a few different platforms and how you go about uploading, your show to it. Obviously we won't do it for you. I'm not gonna, but we can give you some tips, give you a guide. Try this place or check out this website and see what you think. We did a lot of research before starting all of this and tried to dial in what's the best spot for us. How's the best way to get this on as many platforms as possible? And so, we've heard of, read about, signed up for a few different things just to see how they were. So if you're like, hey, what would you recommend? Or do you know of any place where I can upload? Yes, we do. We do know a few.
Yeah,
So
here's some best practices for you. Yeah. So here's the difference between episode 1, which was just you and I kind of talking. Well, what do you think this could be? Where is this going to go? I don't know. So episode 100, I can definitively tell you where it's going to be. So we are on Acast, Amazon Music, Anchor, which is turning into Spotify, I suppose. So Deezer, Google Podcasts, Spotify, as I mentioned, they can all be seen on the government channel, all of our government ones, as well as Vibit, and Meet the Producers is even on YouTube. And the public, you can just go visit the public podcast page under www.brunswick.oh.us, because everybody has a different flavor there. I think you mentioned it earlier. One's only on Vibit, one's only on YouTube, one's only on Podbean, I think. I
yeah,
don't know.
something like that.
So one of my wrap-up questions is, have these 100 episodes gone the way you want? When we first started, is this the way you saw it? Or do you have any goals that we should change or redirect now?
I just think continuing to find ways to get information out there and in a creative way. That seems to be the theme in what we've been discussing. And so the idea of what's going on, kind of had a few different lives before we took and pitched it to Carl. And so, what is the next thing that we can do? What avenue does it come from? Is it something related to anything really? I mean, what's our objective? What's the next one? Obviously, and still trying to maintain the best practices. We use the call-in feature today, but that's something we added to what's going on that we didn't have any guests on before. And not only have we had in-studio guests, but we've also had a few call-in guests. And that's been a nice addition to the show, to bring in another voice and have somebody give a few thoughts, a little bit of an explanation about something going on, something that they're doing, or just providing general information about a topic. So continuing to move forward and produce quality shows and help others produce quality shows. I'll give my pitch in that respect. I think that no matter what it is, almost, it can be a podcast. Any interest, any hobby, and only you are you. And so your perspective is different than everyone else's. And so it's worth attempting. It's worth trying. That's one of the cool parts about who are you and what do you do is I get to hear a lot of those stories. I mean, stories from people that have jumped out of airplanes to people that were stationed overseas in the military and got to see bullfighting and things like that. Stuff that has nothing to do with working for the city of Brunswick, but
people we bump into every day, and that's never would have guessed that.
But it's fun to hear those stories and those things from them, and so you are a unique individual and are capable of that too. So there's my pitch, my PBS pitch to the public there. Come on in and see what we got, and we'll try to help you do whatever it is your idea is. We'll get you there to the best of our abilities.
Every time I've been called a unique individual, I thought it was an insult, just so you know.
Oh, never. I don't mean it as that at
all. Ben, any final thoughts on the show?
I hope that the 106th podcast is you at home. I hope it's you at home. I hope you come in here, and if you've never done any of this before, I hope it's you.
Very good.
Or 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
Whichever.
I was about to say, there might
I like that you gave him a buffer. So
yeah. Now, I don't want to say the 300th episode is you, because you'll just put it off and maybe not show up.
Unless there's 200 people in line right now.
That's true. We could have them standing outside right now.
All right. Well, I know it's rude to look at your phone on camera, which, by the way, no one's been switching because we're all back here. So very stagnant video podcast. Actually, do the theater of the mind, Chris. For people who just are listening, describe our new set.
So we have 3 brown leather chairs a very beautiful vase with, I'm not sure what kind of plants, but they're very brightly colored and very much alive. Coming in with the spring theme here. Coffee table, 3 individuals talking about podcasting.
Handsome individuals, by the way. Handsome.
It's a fantastic environment. It's a great place to create a podcast.
Very comfortable. This podcast could have went 3 hours. You know, I'm fine sitting in these chairs for a little while longer. No.
Well, let's keep talking.
I was going to wrap up the show by going over our public podcast page because I think we hit the government shows pretty well. So for those of you who don't know, brunswick.oh.us, go to the Brunswick Area Television Department. Bam, right there. Podcast-public. So on there right now we have Meet the Producers, Brunswick Group Therapy. They've come in and done some video episodes too. They're probably the most regular. They're most efficient.
And they are super local. Super local.
Yeah, very Brunswick-centric show.
Yeah, it's our neighbors talking about some of the same problems we have. The Voice of Families in Addiction, that's a good one. And he goes back and forth between podcasts and studio production as well. So, Erie House Radio, you mentioned, that's Dave Binkley. The Paltrowcast with Darren Paltrowitz, that one a local sponsor has actually brought to our attention. So Darren Paltrowitz actually interviews big-time stars like musicians and celebrities.
Thank you, Kim.
Yes. What's Right, What's Left, that's one by Dwayne Risco. He brings in new episodes every so often. Sports Sidebar, and then there's even a picture of me and you recording the inaugural 100 episodes ago.
That's a handsome picture.
Yeah, it is. And then there's actually a form there. If you want to get involved, you can just fill out the form, and that's a great first introduction to us. We'll reach out if we get your information through there. Anything else? I think we'll wrap the show up there.
I think it's a good point to wrap up at.
Bat Government programs are produced by Chris Golian, Tom Keppler, and Ben Staunton. You can find this and other podcasts at www.brunswick.oh.us under the Brunswick Area Television Department. Feel free to reach out with topic suggestions or comments. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, this is Don O'Malley with Don's Breakfast Cereal Show, and I'd like to congratulate Bat TV on their 100th episode of podcasting.